Hi, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about the future of screen ratios. Okay, so I'm back in my office, back in the UK, back in my nice comfortable office where I can get things done. It feels really good. It was great being in Oslo last week, but man, it was so expensive. And thanks so much to Snappledragon and MC Hammer. You guys are from Oslo, and guys, do you know how much things cost like in the rest of the world? I mean, it was ridiculous, but it was a beautiful place. It was great to be there. Now today I want to answer a question that came in last week from Royal Penguins. It said, what would you say is the future of phone ratios? The default ratio for phones is currently 9:16, but rumors are it'll go to 9:18. Will we have to readjust sometime in the future? And all that kind of stuff. I answered it a bit in the comments, but basically I think that you have to think in terms of what the hardware manufacturers want. You know, if they come out with something that's say 9:18 that's different than all the other phones that are out there, they're going to have to figure out how they're going to handle all of those legacy apps, right? The thing you have to think about, and I've always been more of a software person than a hardware person, right? I think in terms of when I was doing web development, I would think about which platform are we on, which browser are we using, or I think about that using are we on iOS, are we on Android, which APIs does that support, rather than processor speeds and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that stuff is important, but I try to go for the lowest common denominator, and I always have. So if you have like a really top of the line phone, that's probably not the best for testing with, because it might be better than most of your users. So if you have like an old dingy one, then you know that if it works there, it'll work on the better ones and everything. At least that's my opinion. But like, say if you were a phone manufacturer, and there's so many phone manufacturers out there, and you have this idea that you're going to come out with a new, let's say you're going to have a round screen, right? Let's just mess it up. So something completely different, right? You are not going to release a phone that has a round screen, but no apps work on it except for apps that are developed for round screens. You're going to have to figure out how you're going to display other apps, because the beauty of having that is there's so many apps out there. Right, so it'll probably be, if they did come out with something like that and it was so different, it would probably be like when they came out with widescreen TV. They couldn't just not show anything that wasn't widescreen, so they either had to have the black bars and letterbox, or the backwards letterbox, or stretch everything out or something like that. But that kind of stuff doesn't really concern me very much. And even if they did come out with that, if somebody came out with something that was so different, a different screen ratio, it would take a while. I mean, for me, it would be how many users are actually using that as to whether or not it's worth making changes to the code. At least that's my impression. That's my my opinion on it anyway. Occasionally people we used to get this back in the early days of the web, where people would complain about the difference between, excuse my age, I'm showing my age here, but the difference between Internet Explorer and Netscape. So they were both, HTML was different in both of them. I mean, it was the same HTML standard, but Internet Explorer would bring things in like client-side VB script, different ActiveX components and stuff like that. You had to use layers in Netscape, and people would complain, so why can't they just be the same, right? And it's the same now, because you hear this with developers. They say, why can't the Android and iPhone, why can't they just get together and be the same? And again, the same with this screen ratio, is you have to think about the motivations of the hardware providers. They're trying to come out with something that is new and specific to them. So like every time iOS comes out with something that's new and radical and really awesome, then they have what they want. At least my opinion is that what they're trying to do is get you to leave Android, if you're on Android, and buy an iPhone, right? And then maybe Samsung comes out with a new feature after after Android copies that feature that iOS had. Then Samsung might come out with a new feature, and it's really good, and they want you to go to their platform, right? And then of course iPhone will copy that, and then we kind of get this up and up and up, and we got this little arms race of features, and they're both trying to get an edge over the other, but they're not going to do it and tell their users that nobody can use any of the previous apps. I mean, the only reason that the web worked on on all browsers was because we had standards. We had World Wide Web Consortium and things like that, and putting standards in place that they all kind of had to adhere to, but they all tried to have this proprietary thing or this special edge that would give them a little bit of an edge, and we all benefit in the end, right? So Android wants to be able to let they want more developers, so they'll make it easier for developers to code things for Android, but then also, they're not going to prohibit them from coding for iOS too, and the same on iOS. The more apps they have, the better for their platform, the better for their users and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's kind of, I guess that's a bit all over the place today. Maybe it's just back from holiday, but anyway, that's it for today. I'm not worried about new screen ratios. I'll be worried if half of my users are using them and my apps are stretched or whatever, but right now I'm not worried. So anyway, that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.